The next ICC Men's T20 World Cup is rapidly approaching. We've expanded to 20 teams for the first time in that last edition in 2024, actually hosted here in the United States of America. I'm here for Major League Cricket Season 3, but I thought it was a great opportunity with just 8 months or so to go to the main event that will be hosted in India and Sri Lanka to focus on how that qualification pathway is working, how it's going, and how we are working down to the 20 teams in total that will contest the ICC Men's T20 World Cup for the second time in its history with that tournament's expansion. Okay, let's start at the beginning. 12 of those sides qualify automatically. The two co-hosts, India and Sri Lanka, they're already in. Then there's a reward for the best performing teams in the last edition. So that meant that the top 8 teams from that tournament automatically qualify for India and Sri Lanka 2026. Now India, because they were the tournament champions thanks to that incredible Surya Kumar Yadav catch down in Barbados that sent both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli off into T20 retirement in the most perfect fashion, winning that final over South Africa, they actually have automatically got into those 8 spots as well. So that means that 7 of the top 8 spots, Sri Lanka didn't get through to the Super 8, plus the 2 co-hosts, that makes 9. Then there's 3 more automatic spots. They were purely filled upon the next 3 best ranked sides in the ICC Men's T20I rankings. So New Zealand, who surprisingly didn't get through to the Super 8, they were automatically a shoo-in. And then we also had Pakistan, who missed out to USA in that Super over down in Grand Prairie in Texas in the heroics for USA. They got them there automatically. And Ireland, just by a couple of percentage points, squeezed in over the likes of Netherlands and Scotland. I think they were 1 or 2 rankings points ahead of them. So they're the 12 automatic qualifiers. We actually have already learned the 13th, because the Americas cycle of the qualifier from the 5 ICC regions has completed. Canada have taken that in real style and real comfort. What I'm going to do first is run through each of the 5 regions and tell you how many sides have entered that pathway. So altogether, in addition to the 12 automatic qualifiers, we've got 87 additional sides that are then trying to feature for the remaining 8 places altogether. That means that 99 teams out of the 108 ICC members are having a crack at getting in to the T20 World Cup, and it's so good that it's been expanded up to that 20 teams. So I'm going to run you through each of the 5 regions, starting with the Americas. We'll work west to east, or pretty close to it if we can. For the Americas, they had 10 teams in total. They gathered in Buenos Aires for a sub-regional qualifier that decided the 3 finalists to join Canada, who were there in the final automatically. That ended up being the Cayman Islands, Bermuda and the Bahamas, but Canada dominated that tournament on a home soil, and they've taken the 13th spot. Moving across eastward then to Europe, that is the largest in terms of ICC members in any of the 5 regions. So altogether they had 32 participants. Now the sides that got to the T20 World Cup last time, that is Netherlands and Scotland, they're automatically into the regional final that will get going this weekend in Voorburg in the Netherlands. They've been joined by the 3 winners of the sub-regional finals, and those 3 sides, Italy in particular, you need to keep your eyes on, Guernsey and Jersey. It'll be a 5-team qualifier that'll be played in a single round robin format. Those 5 sides will battle it out for the 2 spots from Europe. That'll give us qualifiers number 14 and indeed 15. Now, Italy have a big chance, Jersey have a big chance too. Guernsey will be the underdogs there, no doubt, but keep your eyes on Italy. Great coaching setup. You look at who they've managed to get with them. John Davison, the former Canadian international, he's the head coach. Kevin O'Brien, the batting coach, and then Dougie Brown, the bowling coach, the 2 assistant coaches. So that's a real pedigree. They've got some big names in their squad with Italian ancestry, plenty of players with Australian first class experience, and captained by Joe Burns, plenty of players too with county experience as well. So Italy could be the ones who'll provide that upset to the old guard of the likes of Scotland and Netherlands, who have so frequently qualified for recent World Cups and very much 2 of the best associate teams in the world. Heading down into Africa, that's where the next regional final will be held. Let's go back to their sub-regional qualifiers. That's where the headlines were hit by Zimbabwe, who really proved a little bit too good for Gambia, I think it wasn't it, where they posted that record T20I score. So for Africa, altogether coming into that qualifier, there was 20 teams, 2 sides, Namibia and Uganda, who qualified for the last T20 World Cup. They advanced automatically to that regional final, which will be held in Zimbabwe at the end of September. Now, for that competition, it's a similar format, but slightly different. There are 8 teams altogether, the top 2 in each of the sub-regionals, going through those from A through to C. We have Malawi and Tanzania qualify in Tanzania. Kenya on home soil, we're joined by Zimbabwe, who hit all those records and those big totals against sides with much less T20I experience. In fact, the fact that Zimbabwe had to go back to sub-regional level was a byproduct of the fact they hadn't qualified for the 2024 edition, having lost out to Namibia and particularly Uganda there in Windhoek, sparked those jubilant scenes where Uganda got to their first ever Cricket World Cup of any kind at a senior level. So those two sides, they were also got through Kenya in sub-regional qualifier B. Then sub-regional C, that was in November in 2024, that was in Nigeria. The host Nigeria alongside Botswana have made it through. So those 8 teams down in Zimbabwe, I think the tournament's going to be in Harare at the end of September. They'll be separated into 2 different groups, 2 groups of 4. And then it's going to be as simple as this. You'll play 1 group game against each of the teams, straight into 2 semi-finals. And you're talking $1 million games then, aren't you? Because those semi-finals will directly decide the finalists, and they will be the 2 qualifiers. No doubt Zimbabwe will be heavy favourites despite missing out last time on home soil. But Namibia are playing some very good cricket, as are Uganda. They'll be looking to get back to back World Cups. If Uganda could do that, that would be a huge achievement. And don't rule out the likes of Kenya, very much seen as a sleeping giant in the associate world. Some good things starting to come back and starting to happen there. Or the West African contingent, particularly Nigeria. I think they'll have an outside chance as well. Now from there, it gets a little bit more complicated, because the biggest change to the qualification structure from the 2024 edition was that the Asia region and the East Asia Pacific region have merged purely for the final purposes. It means that the guaranteed spots for each of the 5 regions are no more, but there is still a possibility and an opportunity for sides from Asia and EAP to get in via that combined final. I'll talk more about that final in a second, where 3 spots will be up for grabs. Let's talk about the sub-regionals for both the Asia region and then indeed the East Asia Pacific region first. So for the East Asia Pacific qualifier, they were split into 2 tournaments. The first one was one that hit the headlines as Samoa sprung a big upset, beating Cook Islands, Fiji and Vanuatu, and of course the record-hitting exploits of Darius Visser, who scored 39 runs up and over, a couple of no balls and wides in there, and some big hitting sixes played on an artificial surface there in Samoa. The second sub-regional was a much more comfortably 1-1 by Japan. They cruised through. They played 6, they won 6, they beat the Philippines, they beat Indonesia, and they beat South Korea. That was hosted in South Korea, but really Japan proved far too good as they continue their ascent up the ICC Men's T20I rankings. For the Asia sub-regional qualifiers then, they were split into 2 groups. 1 played in Malaysia, 1 played in Qatar. For the Malaysia one, there was some real upsets. Malaysia on home soil, they got through, but the 2 big sides that missed out, Hong Kong, real surprise to see them. They were very strong in the T20 format, and Singapore, who continue to slide down the rankings in recent times, they missed out to Kuwait, ascending up the rankings, playing some very good cricket with a good backroom staff. They took the 2nd spot to advance. In Qatar, things were a little bit more straightforward, and we saw UAE, who had to drop down to that level, having not qualified for the World Cup, being denied by Nepal in front of that huge crowd in the Mulpani cricket ground there in Kathmandu that saw Nepal return to a first T20 World Cup for 10 years and spark those jubilant scenes of celebration right across the country.
And they're here to watch the new captain run home for 2 and take Nepal back to the world stage. It's been 10 years, 10 long years that these fans have waited to see Nepal in a World Cup. That wait is over.
That meant UAE had to go back down to the sub-regional level. They cruised through. They won all 6 games. They played some really good cricket, driven by one of the best batters in T20 cricket. Mohammad Waseem continues to excel right up at the top of the order. Host Qatar got through alongside them. Wasn't really any upsets there. Bahrain were the ones who were maybe a bit unlucky to miss out, as did Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Cambodia and Bhutan, who didn't pick up a single win. Now, that meant that 4 sides from the Asia sub-regional joined the 2 sides who automatically get there in Nepal and Oman, and then the 3 sides from East Asia Pacific. So that's the qualifiers, Samoa and Japan, and then those who automatically go to the final, Papua New Guinea, who had a good tournament down in Guyana. Do you remember they very nearly beat the West Indies on their home soil till Andre Russell dragged the hosts over the line. So that makes what is now going to be a brand new and enlarged 9-team qualifier. From that 9-team qualifier, we're going to see 3 sides qualify for an extended Asia, East Asia Pacific region. Now this decision to merge the 2 regions for final purposes has proved, well, maybe a bit of a talking point to say the least. I think some of the EAP sides wanted their slot to be guaranteed and wanted to continue representations from all 5 regions. And then I think for the Asian sides, they're saying, hold on, Asia's maybe arguably the toughest region alongside Europe, and maybe Africa as well, depending upon how you look at it and the various coefficients. They said Asia's difficult enough to get through. Look at the quality of sides that are missing out. We want to merge in with the AP and prove it on the pitch, see who the winning side is going to be on the pitch. Remember, for EAP, there's nothing to stop them from taking 2 or even all 3 of the qualification spots. They'll just have to get it done there in Muscat. That's going to be in Oman, with those 2 beautiful grounds right next to each other at the Oman Cricket Academy. That gets going in early October. Now, the favourites will likely be those who qualified the last time and UAE. I think realistically 3 of the 4 spots will be filled by them. So that's Nepal, Oman on home soil, UAE, who are such a good T20 side, and Papua New Guinea. Do not underrate them in any way, shape or form. But also, there's big talk out of Samoa. They might be persuading a few big names with a bit of Samoan heritage to come and play in that qualifier. They've got plenty of players with first class experience in New Zealand, for example. And also, don't rule out some of the lower ranked sides. We tend to see more upsets in Asia than anywhere else. Kuwait turning into a very, very good T20 team, to say the least. Qatar capable on their day too. And then for the likes of Japan, who knows, maybe they can start to step up. How that format is going to work has not been announced or confirmed yet. The talk I'm hearing, without anything being locked in, is we're going to probably have 3 groups of 3 and maybe a Super Sixes on top of that, so the top 2 teams from each group going through. That's what was used in the most recent ICC Women's T20 qualifier for the Asia region, so it wouldn't surprise me if they replicated that. Other options, of course, would be to go with a full 19 round robin, but I don't think that is going to be what they'll go with. So that means that if we then bring it all back to the kind of global picture, 13 teams have qualified, the 12 automatically, as we discussed earlier. Canada have taken that America's spot, getting going this weekend and live and free on ICC TV and on FanCode. Who will take the 2 European spots? Will it be Netherlands and Scotland, or will it maybe be the upset with an Italy or a Jersey or a Guernsey? Then we'll head down to Africa. Who will take the 2 African spots? Again, the favourites, the host Zimbabwe, no doubt about it, the only full member nation who has to go through this qualification procedure. But Uganda, Namibia, Kenya, Nigeria, Botswana may be nipping at their heels. Then we'll head up to Muscat for that T20 World Cup qualifier that's now joined in between the Asia and the East Asia Pacific region. And that's probably going to be the most fascinating of all the qualifiers in many ways, because we don't see a huge amount of inter kind of regional play, if you will. You'll tend to play through the pathway events, with the exception of Cricket World Cup League 2 and the Cricket World Cup Challenge League in a 50 over format. In the T20 format, you'll tend to play within your region unless you're organising bilateral or trilateral or quadrangular series. So how that's going to go and who's going to take those spots is going to be absolutely fascinating. We know 13 of the 20 qualifiers. We don't know 7 yet. We're going to find them all out in between this weekend. I think it gets going on July 5th, running through to the 2nd week in October. So across the course of the next few months, remember, all these games are live and free to watch and follow along and get engaged, not just with the live streams, but also with the conversations on social media. I can't wait to see who's going to take the 7 spots. Will Zimbabwe miss out again? Because if they do, then we'll have 9 associates of the 20 teams at that T20 World Cup next year. And one thing is for certain, with India and Sri Lanka hosting, I know it was a transformational tournament and it was wonderful here in the United States, but down in the Caribbean too. It was really a tournament that was one to inspire and be remembered. But in India, very much the fanaticism we're going to see, particularly if you think of all the different countries that are going to come together at a great time of year in India, and then Sri Lanka with all its beauty and its culture and its history and heritage of cricket as well. We're in for a World Cup that's going to be unforgettable, and let's hope from a developing and emerging and an associate point of view, we're going to see more and more upsets along the way. I was almost a little disappointed at the last event that we only saw, what was it, I think 3 wins for the associates over 4 members. So I think this time around, with more T20 played in that last 2-year cycle, I think we're going to see the associates go even better if they can adjust to those conditions, which is going to be the key thing and the key difficulty in India and Sri Lanka. One thing's for certain, the 20-team format for the T20 World Cup, it is magnificent. It's such a good move. It gives us that amazing opportunity for those best associate players to come up against their very favourite cricketers of all time and take on the very, very best players in the world. It's going to be another brilliant T20 World Cup. Make sure to tune in, follow all those qualifiers. Hopefully that explains it all. If it doesn't, drop a few comments in the YouTube or the Facebook link below. I'll try to answer them. I think it's a really fair, really good structure. We're working it down from 99 teams all the way to 20. 12 have got there automatically, and rightly so, they deserve to, on their performances in the last cycle. The other 87, they're all playing for those 8 golden tickets And right now, we're down to the final stage. America's already decided. Europe, Africa, Asia, East Asia Pacific, all to come. Hopefully, we're now excited about that T20 World Cup come February 2026.